Hey guys, Brandon here with All About DIY, coming to you on a Friday. What's going on, everybody? Hope your week's going well so far. In today's video, we are going to be building do-it-yourself aquarium stand slash rack. I'm going to have multiple tanks set up on it. I mean, the reason I did this setup is because I kind of wanted to consolidate some of my tanks, as well as, you know, have all my tanks all on one wall, all organized, all just set up on one system. It's going to be awesome, so stay tuned, we'll build it up. Alright guys, here's the lumber I'm going to use for the stand. It's just your standard 8-foot Douglas fir 2x4s. They're cheap, they're like $2.50 a piece. I ended up getting 12 of them. Hopefully I'll have a bunch left over so I can do some more stuff. But my plan is to build a stand that holds a 110-gallon tank, 3 20s, and a few 10s and 5s on the bottom portion of it. That little span of wall right there I cleaned out yesterday, and we've got 7 foot 4 inches wide. So that's the space I'm working with. Plus I'll probably in this corner just do 3 20s all stacked up to the top right there, and then see how that goes. But yeah, so that's the plan. We're gonna, you know, it's gonna be a DIY rack, so that should be interesting. And then you know, with that being said, a little disclaimer here, I did not invent this style of stand. I didn't come up with how to put these 2x4s in a certain setup to where they can hold all this weight. There's plenty of YouTube videos on, you know, how to build aquarium stands and stuff like that. It's pretty straightforward, so I mean, it's not like it's rocket science over here, but you want to make sure that your stand is built strong enough so that it can hold the weight of your aquariums. That would be bad if it broke. So anyways, be careful when you guys do that. And yeah, let's get to it. Okay guys, so I'm going to speed this section up for you a little bit. That way you do not have to sit here and watch me cut wood for 5 minutes. That's just boring. And then after which we will get to assembling the rest of this stand. Alright, so what I've cut so far is the front and back pieces of the top and bottom of the stand, which are these long ones here. And then these 4 right here are going to go between those front and back braces. And you're basically going to make a square out of those and then slide those over a set of 4 2x4s. And that's going to make the bare bones of your stand. So let's get to putting these together and see what we got. Okay guys, so this is what I'm talking about by making a square. You cut your 2 front pieces and your 2 back pieces for your stand the same length, and then you cut the 2 pieces for each part of that the same length also. So you're gonna have, you know, 2 of each, or 4 of each type of board, excuse me. And then, you know, you want the front and the back board to be in front of these little cross braces right there for more strength. Just like that, yeah. See, you slide this one in like so, and then you're good. Screw them together, and then you're going to make 2 of these squares per stand. And now you want to make sure when you build the stand that you don't make it the exact dimensions of your tank, or your tank could possibly hang over, and you do not want that. That's how you break glass. So you want to make it about a 1/2 inch to 1 inch total bigger than your tank. That way the tank sits on about the center of each 2x4, and that'll give you the most strength possible. I'll show you what I mean when we get closer to the end of the stand. Okay, so before you go ahead and just run your screws in without, you know, any prep, it's a really good idea to drill pilot holes. Now some people don't drill pilot holes, and that's fine, but I just feel like it's a little bit safer because your wood will have a smaller chance of splitting on you when you run the screws in, because basically the screw just pushes a bunch of wood out of the way to make room for itself, and so that's what causes splitting. Now 2x4s with these small screws may not be a factor, but after it gets water on it and there's going to be a lot of weight on it, I just don't want to trust it, or I just don't want to chance it, excuse me, and have something happen later on. So I'm going to drill pilot holes. So a 2x4 is 1.5 inches wide, and I want my screws to be right in the middle of that. And I'm going to put 3 screws in each board. So I'll show you what that looks like in a second, but I'm going to drill my pilot holes first just to be safe, and then that way the screws have a better guide. You can get them in nice and straight, and all of that. So yeah, we'll get to it right now. Alright guys, so I've marked out where the pilot holes are going to be drilled. I'm going to put 3 screws in each board. Some people do 2. I just want to be safe rather than sorry, so there it is. Let's get to drilling. Alright, so let's drill some holes. Alright, so drill 3 holes in each board, and you want to make these so that they're small enough to where the screw actually grabs onto the wood, and you want to make them large enough to where you're actually doing some good. So, it doesn't have to be, some rocket science thing. You just want to make sure that your hole is the correct size for your screws, and you shouldn't have a problem. Alright guys, so let's get some screws in this thing and see what it looks like all put together. Alright, so when you're making anything like this, if you're taking this much time and you're buying all this material and you want to make something nice that lasts and that you're happy with, you're going to want to make sure that you've got a square, and you can use a level also that is square, and just make sure that, your stand is, well, nice and square. They make squares that clamp onto 2x4s, and then you can hold them in place while you screw them. I don't have those. I feel like they're kind of unnecessary because it's fairly easy to get a nice right angle. But if it's nice and square, it's going to last longer, it's going to look better, and you're going to be much happier with the results. So make sure you just take a little bit more time, make sure your stuff's square, and you'll be good to go. So let's get to putting this thing together so we can get started on the uprights and get going on this thing. Alright guys, so it should look something like that when it's done. The screws don't have to be perfectly spaced or anything like that, especially if you're going to be finishing this thing with like some nice finish wood, or like painting it or staining it, filler, putty, whatever you got to do. But for me, it's going in my garage, and that is going to be close enough, and it's going to be nice and strong too, so that's always good. So let's keep going. Alright guys, so there's the finished bottom brace, or the top brace, whichever you want to use it for. It doesn't really matter because you're making an identical one right after this if you're doing this type of stand. There it is, all screwed in nice and square. Same with down here, looking good. So yeah, let's get to making one more of these, and then we'll get started on uprights and things like that. Okay guys, now we have our, the base of the stand and the part of the stand where the tank is actually going to sit. I don't have the center supports through it yet because I want to make sure the uprights go in. That way I know exactly where my center supports are going to go. So with that in mind, that bottom square there that you see, there's 2 there, that one's going to lay flat onto the concrete. And then what I'm going to do is, being that I have this cabinet right here, I have to make sure that I don't run my tank into the top of that, and that I can have access to the top of the tank. So I've got a line marked on my wall right there, and that right there, and that line is 22 inches off of the concrete, and that's how high my stand needs to be in order to accommodate the 100-gallon tank, because the 100-gallon tank is 26 or 7 inches tall, and that's what you see this line here is, which leaves me with about a 6-inch gap below there, which I think should be good enough. I'm not going to use hang on the back filters. And I'm not sitting a light on top of the tank, so I think it should be fine. So with that in mind, I'm going to cut 2 22-inch uprights, and those will slide into this end, and I'll show you how to do that in a second. But over here, since I'm making this a 3-tiered rack, the uprights need to be much taller to accommodate 3 tanks stacked on top of each other. So I'll show you how to do that, and then we'll get to cutting some more wood, and then I'll show you how these little guys go on there in just a second. Okay guys, so I've got my 2 short uprights cut for the left portion of this tank, which will be over on this side, and then I've got my 4 tall uprights for the right hand portion of the stand, where I'm going to stack 3 20-gallon tanks. So obviously you'd want your uprights longer for those. So let's get these installed on these squares and see what it looks like. It's gonna start taking shape at this point. And then again, when you put screws in the ends here, drill your pilot holes if you choose to at that point, obviously. And then you know, since you have 3 screws coming in from this side, what you're gonna want to do is put 2 screws in from this side at about right there and there. That way the screw misses the other screw, so you don't get you know, break your screws inside your wood and stuff like that. So that's just a little tip there. So let's get to putting these uprights in and see what we got. Alright, so here it is guys, with the outer uprights installed. The stand is starting to take shape at this point. This is how you screw them in. Just go from the end there straight into the other 2x4. Really simple stuff. And then for over here, same thing. Just put screws in from each end just to hold them in place. And then this little board right here, this one, that's going to be what mainly supports the weight of your tank, so that you don't have to worry about your screws shearing on you. It kind of, you know, braces everything. So those are definitely a necessary piece of this stand. So I'm going to put the rest of them on, and then we'll see what it looks like after that. Alright guys, so here we can see that all of the upright supports that are the load-bearing pieces of wood, and by load-bearing I mean these right here, because they support the weight of your tank so that the screws don't have to, because I don't trust screws. I think somebody was saying the shear strength is 150 pounds, and a 100-gallon tank full of water weighs much more than that, even with 3 screws. So yeah, so here we go. We got these all screwed in, these other 2 uprights. I've got my center uprights screwed in, and that's kind of what we're looking at as far as the stand. I got to obviously build it up a little bit for the 10-gallon tanks I'm going to put in there. But as far as the 110-gallon side, we're pretty much done. I got to make 2 load-bearing supports that go right in this area, put those in, and then make some more squares that will go around here to support the 10-gallon tanks. So a little more work to do, but it's starting to look like a stand at this point. So I'll let you guys know when we get closer. Okay guys, so as you can see, I've got all of the upright bracing supports on. There's 6 on the front, or 3 on the front, excuse me, and 3 on the back. And then I have those 8 boards cut up because I'm going to make a box, actually 2 boxes around my 6-foot uprights. And then I've cut some more centerpieces that will basically brace, you know, right in through this area, and over here right in through this area to kind of just support some of the weight, and make sure that the front and back pieces of this stand stay parallel all the way across, and just brace it a little bit. So let's get those in and see what we got. Alright guys, so here's pretty much the finished product. I've got my other 2 boxes up there that are made exactly like this box here. So I didn't show you guys how to do that, kind of cut down on the video time. But yeah, I'm going to hack those uprights off because I don't really want a tank sitting up that high. I won't be able to get to it very easily, and I'm just worried about it tipping over, even though I'm going to screw it to the wall, which you should always do with an aquarium stand, or one that's especially tall like this one. But yeah, so pretty much done with this thing. I'm going to screw a couple more boards in, show you the finished product, and then we'll wrap this video up. Alright guys, so this is the finished product. I've got the spikes hanging off on the top that I decided not to use cut off. I got the center bracing. I got all the cross supports. And so this thing is done. I got it level. You can see the shims down there at the bottom. My garage floor is not exactly the most level piece of concrete I've ever seen. So yeah, sometimes you'll have to do that. But it doesn't matter so much that the tank is level as with the top of your tank where it's going to sit on the stand. That matters much more. So anyways, we'll get into the details on that for a second, but yeah, so this is it. If you guys have any questions or comments, let me know. Put them in the comments below, and you guys have a good one. Stay tuned. Okay, so one more thing before I wrap this video up. I obviously have the 110-gallon aquarium sitting on the stand to give you a little bit of perspective as to what it's going to look like. I'm going to have another video coming out shortly of the whole thing completed. But, you know, so this is what we got. This is the finished product. It's nothing extravagant. It's nothing pretty. But it works, it's really strong, and it fits my spot extremely well. And sometimes, you know, you gotta make a custom stand to accommodate some of the tanks that you have or the space that you have. So that's what I did. And so, you know, just take your time with it. Make sure you, you know, if you don't know what you're doing, have somebody help you do it. And, you know, good luck. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Stay tuned. There's a lot more coming in the future, and I hope you guys have a great night. And we'll see you later.